first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. But first, I want to thank David for doing this fabulous job on minutes lately. This was a lot of minutes, and I only saw one thing that I'd like to suggest amending, and the reference to the qualified allocation plan. The word application should just be changed to allocation. Did anyone else have amendments to the minutes, or I'm assuming everyone had a chance to review the minutes? No amendments? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the October 14th meeting?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like the minutes are approved. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is updates on potential light-tech affordable housing location scouting to date. A couple of members, I think, scouted. So can we hear a report from that exercise, please? Laura, do you want to start? I think you went up first, Laura and Max.
Yes, I can't find the exact right paper, but we looked at the quadrant that is in East Arlington, mostly Mass Ave and 2 properties on Broadway. We looked at the Walgreens and the adjoining gas station. Then we looked at Mass Convenience, and we looked at some properties where the Meineke muffler is, down by the what's sometimes called the gateway from Cambridge to Arlington. And then we hopped over to Broadway where we looked at the Leahy parking lot. And the last one we looked at was Arlington Transmission, which is next to an HCA property, and a bit smaller than the others. I think we thought
of the Baptist Church. That was actually my favorite.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
That is at Amsden on Mass Ave. And seemed to be like not in great shape, and had a big parking lot in the back, and has a lot to the left of it that isn't being used. So that was kind of interest to both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I personally felt like any one of them could work as affordable housing.
Okay.
Max, do you want to say anything?
We saw a couple pretty big properties, which, the Walgreens one, the church, that Leahy lot potentially, that seemed like places that would be really good for large viable projects. Then a couple smaller sites, but I just found the exercise really useful. So, thank you, Carol, for suggesting it, and Laura for showing me all these properties. It was really useful to sort of get a sense of, the way to think about some potential sites.
Great, to try to visualize them. Were there any that you noticed that you would like to add, or that you don't think anyone has considered?
Just one point of confusion we had was that the whole block where the Meineke is, it seems like it might be one large building with a bunch of different tenants, or maybe it's different owners. We didn't know, but that whole block there is a very large piece of land with a lot of different sort of more industrial uses for the most part. And I think one karate or some sort of martial arts kind of studio as well.
Yeah, I think that's 28 Mass Ave. Around it?
I think that's right. I have to pull up a map and
Okay.
double check that.
All right. My recollection is that at least it was years ago under one ownership with several different smaller tenants, as you suggested.
The Meineke is 22 Mass Ave. I'm not sure what the other numbers are going up that block.
All right. Great.
Yeah, we had like a couple of addresses. There was more than one address.
Okay.
The whole building might be 24 to 36. Seems like one way it's listed.
All right. So that's good to hear. And as you continue to kind of travel around, if you see sites that now that you've looked through your low-income housing tax credit developer glasses, if you see additional sites that you think make sense, don't hesitate to bring it to the committee.
I'll just add one thing, that none of these sites was in the Capital Square commercial zone. I mean, we're business district. So I think they might be less controversial in terms of loss of commercial space because they're kind of underutilized and not in the heart of the business district.
Okay, good note.
Well, one other thing, the church was in a residential zone, right, Laura? I thought we
Yes.
looked at that. Um, but is, a large property where there's a lot of land that could be developed without, changing the church at all either. I know the state legislature is working on or thinking about a law that is going to make it easier for houses of worship to build affordable housing. So, I mean, we could include it in overlay anyways, but that's a place where you might see something happen anyways, or could theoretically happen anyways.
Good point. I know that a lot of churches will be we'll be able to look at a lot of churches. I was out a few days ago and I realized that there's a couple churches that I hadn't included, and I thought, why didn't you put them there? And I realized partly it's because there's been a lot of recent investment in two churches, and that there wasn't a lot of land. But I wanted to mention it to this committee so that if anyone says, hey, how come these other churches aren't being considered, don't hesitate to bring them up, because everything that makes sense for affordable housing is fair game right now. Sarah, did you want to report on your scouting efforts?
Sure. Beth and I were partnered up. We ended up not able to get together, but we went. So I went and looked at properties that were mainly around the center of town. So we looked at the Russell Common parking lot, which is right at the corner of Medford Street and Mystic and Chestnut, like the parking lot, which has been identified for years as a site to do further studies on, just because of its proximity to well, the town center, but to the buses, the density that is already there with the Winslow Tower and the other building across the way. Since it's a parking lot, there's not it seems kind of like an easier lot to redevelop. Obviously there would be, it's a 1.5 acre parcel of land. So there's a lot that could be done with that property. It's zoned residential R1. And I think that goes back to some zoning that was put in place by the St. Agnes Church, which is one of the other lots that we looked at behind the center, behind the parking lot. So there are several parcels that are owned by St. Agnes, or for St. Agnes Church, St. Agnes Rectory, all along Medford Street. I mean, they're developed right now, they're being used. The parcel with the St. Agnes, the parish center, and the St. Agnes School, it's a pretty big lots. So if they were ever to be redeveloped, or there was it's kind of, this is where it gets a little tricky to kind of visualize, because it's occupied, it's very, it's a very utilized section of a group of parcels. We also looked at there are 2 parcels that are side by side on Mass Ave at 366 Mass Ave and 370 Mass Ave. which are the American Legion building. And next door to that is 366, which most people would recognize as looks like an apartment building, but it's actually a condo office building that is all boarded up and has been vacant for a little while now. Those two parcels are both they make up almost like a quarter acre, a little more than a quarter acre. As the town planner who has been to that property several times, I mean, I would love to see that that area. I think it's the location is fantastic for walkability. You know, I had a dream because the American Legion is no longer operating there. They had a clubhouse in the back that's no longer operating. You know, I had met with the folks from the American Legion at one point about, you know, potentially doing some sort of a veterans housing project there, which would tie in beautifully with an affordable housing overlay district. So I personally, I love that area. And then the condos that are owned and vacant, we have not been able to reach the property owner. It's 12 units. They're all owned by one. 11 of the units are owned by one property owner, and then one unit is owned by the Boston Eye company. So there hasn't been movement on any activity there.
But even Boston Eye is not open, right? There's nothing going on in there.
There's nothing at the location. It's just Boston Eye happens to own a unit there, but they have locations elsewhere. Another location that we looked at, or I looked at, was 67 Pleasant Street, which is where the Verizon building is. There's a parking lot just behind it that honestly, I didn't really know that was there. It's kind of tucked away and on off of Maple Street, and I mean, that seems surrounded by residential. I mean, it seems like that could be a good location. And the same with the parking lot at the, oh no, wait, I'm not looking at the RCN buildings, sorry. And then the other two properties that we looked at were across the street from each other on Summer Street. One is the Fresh Pond Seafood, the lot, which is just over a half an acre. It has a huge parking lot. You know, it seems like there could be it's a pretty big lot. Like, I think that there could definitely be some activity. Not that I want Fresh Pond Seafood to go anywhere, of course, but you know, if that property ever became available, it's got the residential behind it. It's near the bike path. It's easy to get to the buses. And then across this, go ahead.
I think that they may rent some spaces in their lot too, which means they don't need them, whether for zoning or for reality.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of parking spaces, so I can't imagine that the restaurant.
I think they do rent some of them, but also at any, like, I live near there, and like the parking lot is like almost always like almost completely empty. Like, it's way underutilized.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I believe they do rent some of them out.
And then the lot across the street, which is 90 Summer Street, is O'Donoghue Insurance, and Scutra is located there. Let me let somebody in. So that's, again, I mean, you know, if the properties, you know, if the owners were to decide not to continue these uses, I mean, I think there's huge potential there. I mean, all of these sites, I think, were selected, you know, with kind of with an eye for what is possible. The zoning there is B2A. I mean, all of these locations have possibilities. So,
Okay. So Zavid and Fiorella and I are going to try to find a time to go out and do some more scouting. David, I'll reach out to you probably tomorrow to pitch some times, or you can pitch me some times for the weekend.
Yeah, sorry, I know I'm hard to schedule with, but we can see if we can work something out.
Well, I have faith. I'm not the easiest person to schedule with either, so thank you for bearing with me and my schedule. So I look forward to it. I think it'll be good. And this is really helpful. And Sarah, I think, do you have another tranche to look at?
I have, yes. And I have a couple of like my little wild cards. Like there's a parcel of land that is listed for sale right now at 52 Dudley Street, which is not necessarily, it's an industrial zone. It's on the market, but it's an acre of land that's for
Acre.
sale. It's a full acre. It's where the barbecue barn is.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, while it's industrial, which would not necessarily be the first location that I would think of, to focus housing going there. I mean, I think it's worth considering
I mean,
whether it would make sense because a 40B development could just as easily go there. And
I will say that like Dudley Street is zoned industrial, but there's already a fair number of like single or two family housing there. There's some apartment buildings on Dudley Street. Like
on
it's
the
zoned
other side of the
industrial, but
street. Yeah,
it's zoned
exactly.
industrial, but the build environment is really a mix of like very light industrial uses and automotive uses and housing already. So like would more
Absolutely.
housing there really cause any problems?
Yeah, I'm mentioning it merely, I think that there's going to be a sensitivity in the community to,
Sure.
proposing something in an industrial area, but you're absolutely correct, Zay, that it's got single family homes and two family homes directly across the street from it. And it's just, I mean, it's an acre of land in Arlington. Like, when does that ever come up for sale? So, I do know that I think there is a possibility that, the owner could be flexible about, looking at different options. Not to say that they want an overlay district, but, just that, the owner is looking to sell the lot and do something with it. So, and the last parcel that I had is at 58 Medford Street, which is the last parcel before you get to the cemetery. It's like right on the corner of Warren and Mystic Street. The owner of the property has done some other projects in Arlington and has done a couple of affordable housing units. And I know that he would be open to putting his property in the overlay district, like kind of volunteering that property to be there. So it's right behind the Chestnut Manor building that the Housing Authority owns. There's kind of the Housing Authority owns Chestnut Manor, and then there's a parcel of land that kind of comes out to Medford Street. Is that Medford Street? Am I saying? I'm gonna make sure I'm getting my roads correct. That comes out to Medford Street, and his parcel he's looking to redevelop it soon and do something with it. So I think if we find property owners that want to volunteer to put their properties in it, that
Yeah, especially if they could, if they're of the scale that could feature, could host a light tech scale development, residential development. Great.
Right.
And it sounds like that location could.
Right. I've got a quick question. Sarah, you said, they might be willing to volunteer to put it in the overlay district. Why would a property owner not want their property in the overlay district? Does that happen?
I mean, I'm sure it happens, yes. But I mean, I don't think that there's a disadvantage.
Right.
Yeah.
It offers flexibility, but some people could just say they don't want. I mean, Carol, what do you think?
I sort of expect that someone who's like opposed to the overlay district generally might also, to avoid seeming hypocritical, oppose their property being in it, etc.
there's no disadvantage. It's an optional, you can either
Right.
elect to apply the benefits of an overlay to your property or not. So,
Yeah, good point. So
Beth,
great.
I didn't get a chance. I'm sorry. I don't know if Beth, if you got a chance to look at anything that I sent, or I don't want to not give you an opportunity
No,
to
since
speak.
I got it today, so I didn't have a chance since I was working today to go and look at the sites. I mean, I'm generally familiar with them from having lived here, and I think it's interesting hearing the planning perspective. 'Cause I think I tend to think too much probably in terms of what things are currently used as, and so it's good to challenge myself to think about what options there are if you don't look at current uses.
Yeah, that is the objective, to really look through the glasses and the lens of a light tech developer. And so this is a really good exercise, I think, for us, because when we live in a town, it's easy to continue to see the town as we always have, but to see these possibilities, to really look. And Sarah, thanks for identifying some additional locations. So any of you, if you're out, like I said, feel free. Beth, if you go to look at any of these, and you see anything else that you think should be added, don't hesitate to, because now's the time to be broad. Okay, so anything else on these for now? I think we'll continue some of this work. I'm hoping we can complete it soon, but so I would hope that by this time next week, I hope that we will have completed the scouting exercises. Okay, I'd like to move on to the next item, which is preparing for upcoming ARB and community meetings. We, I believe, talked about a tentative date with the redevelopment board of the 17th, Sarah.
And we are confirmed for that date.
Okay. And do we also have a confirmed community meeting date? Or I asked because I had to leave the last meeting a little early, which I apologize again. But how did we leave that? How did the committee leave that?
So Laura, do you want to, where did we finish off? I think
I
we
think-
agreed to change to push
Yeah.
it a little bit later.
I no longer remember when we had said we were going to do it. Do you?
Hold on,
I
I'm
think
looking
was
it
a
up right now.
I think it was
Okay.
a Wednesday, wasn't it a Wednesday, right around the ARB visit?
Well, I
And
think
have to-
originally we thought we would have the public meeting before, so maybe it was the 9th we thought? Thursday the 9th?
We were looking at that, and then, okay, so it
The
seems like
minute-
everyone can do Wednesday, November 19th on Zoom at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Since that is our,
Wednesday, no, oh, I'm looking at October. There's my problem right there.
That's
Wednesday the 19th is what we're talking about now? Not I don't know why I had the 12th. Okay.
what I have.
so that is
too, I think.
so I think we were looking at that for our meeting, for like just our regular our committee meeting.
On a Wednesday?
So Monday, the 10th is, so the Tuesday is the holiday.
Oh, the 12th was going to be the committee meeting. The 19th
Right.
was going to be the public meeting.
Correct.
Well, I'm so glad you had that written down somewhere.
Could you say the time for that meeting again?
Yes. Okay, so we're looking to do the community meeting on November 19th at 7 p.m. via Zoom.
Great.
And I'll get that posted and get some social and town notice materials put out for that. And then November 17th would be the Arlington Redevelopment Board meeting.
So right
That's-
before.
Right, on the Monday. And that meeting starts at 7:30 p.m. But I'll confirm closer to the meeting date whether whether the Affordable Housing Committee would go first. I'm hoping that we would be able to go first, and then the other applicant, because we do have a couple of other applications for that night. said maybe they would go later on. So I'll confirm that time.
Okay. All right, and let's see, it's 9 o'clock. I want to make sure we leave time for public comments. So
Wait,
Um,
Carol, are we going to talk about what we're going to talk about with the redevelopment board on the 17th?
yes, I just wanted to try to just see where we were with timing for the meeting.
Oh, okay, okay. Tonight's meeting, okay.
Right.
can I just say on this topic, I did work with Max to draft a survey we could send out. So I don't know if we want to look over the survey draft in this meeting or in a different way, but
I would suggest, thank you for doing that. I would suggest if you could, my understanding of open meeting law is that if you distribute something to a committee during the committee, if you distribute a draft, that's fine with the open meeting law. So I would suggest that we, if you have it in a form where you could get it to the committee members, that way, I think we could take a look at it.
If it's on the agenda.
I, I, I was wondering if it was properly in scope for preparing for the community meeting, since it's a
Oh.
survey for the community meeting. If people think that that's out of scope, then we can do it a different way.
I think in order to decide whether we would want to do a survey, I think.
We had talked about at our last meeting doing the survey for the community meeting, and at that point I had volunteered and then Max volunteered to assist.
Yeah, I saw that in the minutes.
I'm comfortable with that. Is anybody not? How's our lawyer feel about that, Beth?
I mean, I'm definitely not a lawyer to this committee, but it does seem to be in scope for prepping for the meeting if it's, it's part of our meeting prep to try and get this out. So I'd be interested in what you guys came up with.
Right.
Okay, so I'll send this draft to everyone on the committee right now.
Thank you. And Laura and I can prepare outline of information that we'd like to provide to both the community and to the ARB about the four corners. It's more than four corners of what we've discussed to date on what we think we would begin to recommend for an affordable housing overlay district, what we'd recommend to the redevelopment board for their consideration to recommend to town meeting. We haven't made firm decisions, but I think we have some general agreement about for example, this being designed so that it can support light-tech affordable housing in terms of the scale of the number of the units and the affordability levels. So, and there's also some of these policy points that we've identified, I think we could also provide some information. If we haven't made decisions as a committee yet, if we haven't landed on them, we can at least identify them to the ARB and to the community. I will also want to be clear about the basics of zoning. These are not development proposals, obviously, but even for us, when we were just talking about, I think it was St. Agnes's, it's so hard to imagine that property or any property and it's in an active use being ever not in that use. But the zoning, as we all understand, is to prepare for those possibilities. So that's one thing we'll have to be clear that these are not development proposals, they're zoning proposals to add additional development rights if the property became available. So we'll have some slides, I think. Also, I don't think we'll have any necessarily have any maps prepared, but I think we could review some of the potential locations that we will have scouted by then. I've talked a lot. Why don't I listen? What else are we going to want to talk about with the redevelopment board and the community? that might give us plenty.
I think the ARB is going to want to know about the public process for planning.
The public process for getting to and through town meeting, or the public process for informing the community of what how the proposal is shaping up, or all of that?
I think all of that. I mean, I think I think there's been a lot of emphasis on the need for public input in shaping the proposal, and I think the ARB is going to want to hear about how we're going to provide for that public input.
Okay, great.
Laura, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I did.
Mm-mm.
Do we want to consider whether someone on the committee would want to take some primary responsibility for some groundwork on drafting some of that under open meeting law? If there's one person identified during the committee, they can, without letting the rest of the committee know, tap someone else on the committee. That is.
I'm not clear on what you're asking. What
To
draft up what? For what?
public process.
Oh, the public process, I see.
Are you saying like slides that we present to the ARB, or like the process, as a document for the committee, or what are you thinking?
These steps, timing, frequency, mode, method of public process between now and the town meeting vote, if the ARB is in agreement on recommending a warrant article. It's a lot. It's a long road in a very short and compressed period of time. So we've got this committee, then we make our recommendation to the redevelopment board, then the redevelopment board deliberates and decides whether or not to recommend some version of that zoning bylaw amendment as a warrant article at town meeting. And then once that happens, then the redevelopment board may want to do its own public process, but I think we as the hardworking committee would also want to continue to try to advocate for or describe or conduct even some public process between that ARB action and the date of the town meeting vote. I sound like I'm volunteering for it.
Good. I thought you were like kind of leading towards I probably should be doing it as the town.
Are you
The person who I don't want to volunteer, but I'm also the person that does all of the communications coming out of our department. So I feel like it's probably going. I'm going to be doing a lot of it anyways. In terms of preparing a lot of the the town notices, public meetings, social media, outreach.
It would be invaluable, and this can't happen. This public process design cannot happen without Sarah.
Yeah. So I think that's that.
That you'll do it? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Well, I think I have to. I don't know how else.
I think it's just think of it as taking a stab right now, because we don't really, I mean, it would be nice to know that there is a path to town meeting, that we could still make all the deadlines and everything, so, but, don't think of it as, cast in stone. At this point, we just don't know that much, but I think that would be actually very helpful to have a schedule. This is the way I am, though. As my family.
Having worked with Laura, I will tell you that it's one of her best traits.
Well, thank you. Would you tell my husband that?
My first opportunity. Okay, so we can talk a lot more about preparing for these two upcoming meetings. I am away most of the week of the 10th. I feel like we're going to need to have some kind of a confab to prepare further before the 17th.
So the proposed meeting of the 12th, you won't be at that meeting?
Correct. I'll be out of state traveling with my 92-year-old father.
Okay.
And we had talked about whether it would be, so November 10th is just like the day before a holiday. It's not really does that day work better or worse for folks?
I have something else on the 10th, unfortunately.
We were out on the 10th, sorry. Couldn't remember why we were looking at that.
That's okay, yeah. That was my own stupid. I shouldn't have scheduled it, but.
I'm also out on the 10th, so I can take her off the hook.
Oh, thank you, Beth.
Yeah, what I thought. I can be off on the 10th. So there is no meeting.
And then, so Carol, you couldn't do it if it was the 10th either, or you could have done it if it was the 10th?
No, I'm flying out on the 10th.
So there you go.
Yeah, so we can't do that. So I'm looking back at the minutes to see if this was discussed after I had to leave the meeting. What time, if on some chance I have Wi-Fi and there's a lull in the action with my dad, what time would that meeting on the 12th be? Was a time discussed?
You know, I think we never really agreed to it, what time.
The agenda says 6:30.
Yeah, I would prefer earlier.
Next meeting discussed November 10th or 12th. The agenda says 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay. So just so you know, in case you didn't attend, I heard Beth say she'd have preferred earlier.
Earlier than 6:30?
No, I'd meet earlier, as in 6:30 is earlier than 8:30.
Oh, that wasn't, did we tell, I mean, that was a snafu. That was not meant to be.
Yeah, we won't be making 8:30 p.m. a pattern. I don't know.
No.
This is just a testament to our flexibility.
Okay, so then let's lock in November 12th, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
for our regular committee meeting. November 17th at 7:30 will be the redevelopment board meeting. And November 19th at 7 p.m. will be the community meeting. Just to make sure I have all.
7 p.m. Okay. Bear with me a moment. I just want to get this into my calendar just so I have a record of what's going on, even if I can't attend it.
And
6:30.
just to be clear, the meeting on the 12th and the 19th are on Zoom, and the 17th is in person, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Good catch, Max.
Oh, I thought you said the 17th was also Zoom.
The 17th is the redevelopment board, and they don't actually offer.
Oh, right. That's right. I'm sorry. Okay, that's in person.
So it goes Zoom, in person, Zoom.
Yes.
I needed to review that myself.
And the ARB is 7:30, not 7.
Correct. And then I'll confirm the time. If they can't get us in right away at 7:30, which I'm going to push for, then I'll let folks know. But hopefully it's right at 7:30 and they just take us first.
Okay. All right, so it's 9:10. I'm going to move on to policy points for discussion. I don't think we can really chew these up too much tonight, but I will. I think I was on the meeting, had a good conversation about the affordability level last time. I don't think we're going to decide on this, except to the extent that it has to meet the qualified allocation plan affordability levels to qualify for light tech. Unless someone's coming to the meeting tonight with a really strong idea about what they would recommend. Unless that's the case, and if no one has any objections, I'd like to hold off on that one. However, I do have some substance on 4B uses, what is allowed in the overlay. With respect to mixed use, I talked to Rebecca Frawley-Wachtel and asked her some questions. She runs the tax credit program, among other things at HLC. And I just wanted to share back with you, she did say they have some mixed-use projects that have been successful. She also said in response to some of my questions that requiring mixed use, especially the commercial component, adds complexity and risk for the owner. Every square foot costs money, whether they're for-profit or non-profit. You don't want them to take so much risk that they are vulnerable and can't produce units. The project would need to be fully funded at some point, and the developer needs to demonstrate a high level of readiness. There needs to be demonstrated demand for the commercial use in the market study. And she added that market studies are a Section 42, like LIHTC's program, requirement. The commercial use has to make sense, meaning how will that space be paid for if you don't have a tenant yet? It's about what's marketable. The developer needs to be financeable with the investors for tax credits. The permanent lender and the construction lender need things to be solid. And she recommended that we talk with lenders for input on mixed use for LIHTC. So between several of us, I have a list of affordable housing developers, and we can also, I know Kate Casa presented to Arlington 2 years ago. We might ask Kate, she's in affordable housing consultant, so we might benefit from doing a little bit of homework with some lenders, who have worked on LIHTC projects, and checking in with some affordable housing developer friends to see what they have to say. They're right in the trenches.
I mean, my recent experience has been that the banks won't underwrite commercial income, so you can't get loan proceeds against it, right?
Yeah,
which means
makes sense to me.
Which means you have to finance it in another way. Usually requires fairly robust sponsor level guarantees. So that's the financial feasibility that Rebecca is talking about, worrying about the risk that it poses to the developer when they have to guarantee the commercial performance.
So what I heard, Beth, in my layperson's terms, I know that LIHTC can't finance the commercial space, and you're saying that the lenders will find it difficult to finance the commercial space, so that the developer, her or himself, has to somehow figure out another way to finance the commercial space. Is that okay? All right, thank you. So for that reason, I'm strongly urging that we say that it should be allowed but not required. Since we do have a zoning option that does require a mixed-use component, that does require, we have, I think, two approaches in our zoning, where for market rate residential, there's a commercial requirement, so I think that covers it. So I don't think that we should kind of hobble the affordable housing overlay district recommendation.
Can I throw something out there rather relatedly? I will note that under MBTAC, and I think maybe some other areas, the front setback requirement is less for mixed use than for non-mixed use. If we go to the ARB and they say, hypothetically, and they say, we're fine with not requiring mixed use, but we want the setback to be 0 feet for mixed use or 15 feet if it's all residential. It might be worth thinking about how we'd feel about the air if someone from the ARB imposed that sort of requirement.
Good thought. We may also later on want to give more consideration to what kind of design input we can get from some of our affordable housing developer friends to inform us of what works for affordable housing development, so that we can have a strong basis for answering David's good question when it's inevitably going to arise. either with the public or with the ARB. So whether we we don't really have an answer to that tonight, but it's a good way to think about the question.
Yeah, I'm not doing, I'm not expecting an answer. I'm just saying I was looking over like the MBTAC district recently, and that's something that that we do in those districts, and the ARB or anyone might propose that for the affordable housing overlay as well.
Thanks. Okay. Any comments or questions before we move on? Okay. So, just has no front setback for GC. Okay. All right. So, we have. So before we open it to public comments, anything else? Any other items for?
I just want to let folks know. I can't remember if we talked about it at the last meeting or not, but the town of Brookline is working on an affordable housing overlay district as well. That it was a project that started a couple years ago and was stalled for a while. But they recently released they had a feasibility study done by RKG Associates, which is actually really interesting. Brookline is obviously not the same as Arlington, but it's very similar in terms of kind of being a comparable community. And some of the highlights, I'm just going to read this very briefly, but it's all posted online. They have a great, their Affordable Housing Overlay District website has all of these documents backed up. But some of the highlights from the feasibility study included the following. So 100% affordable developments require a 5 to 7 story building, which is kind of the sweet spot for affordable multifamily housing construction. Since above 7 stories requires steel construction and it makes it that much more expensive. 40 to 50 units is again the sweet spot, due in part to state subsidy limits. Skip around a little on some of this stuff, but parking is very expensive, especially the underground parking spaces where it can be about $100,000 per parking space.
It's crazy how expensive parking is. It's super frustrating. Structural parking is so expensive.
So adding, let me see, they also said adding tiers at 80% of area median income to 120% AMI actually requires more subsidy per unit, not less, since those units don't qualify for the low-income housing tax credits. Whereas tiers at 30 to 50% AMI do qualify for the tax credits.
What about 60? Is it 60? Doesn't 60 qualify?
So this is just in the highlights. It's possible. I'll go through the full report.
Yeah, 60 definitely qualifies.
But 60 should, yeah. They do say that incorporating up to 50% of the units at market rate is financially feasible and would require significantly less additional subsidy. There's some additional notes down below. Many people, one particularly noteworthy finding of the financial feasibility study is an option that is not 100% affordable, but a roughly 50-50 mix of affordable and market rate units. Specifically, a mix of 53% affordable units, along with 47% market rate units, is financially feasible with little to no subsidy due to cross-subsidy of the affordable units by the market rate units. There's more language, but I think it's worth us taking a closer look at because a lot of the work may have been done.
I started to read it, but I'm glad you brought it up. I think it will be good for us to read it if we can make the time, but also bearing in mind that there may be some assumptions that were embedded in the RKG study for site size that would dictate, not dictate, but that would steer it towards 5 to 7 stories. Maybe that is what, maybe they've got the same size sites that we have potentially, but I think it would be really good for us to read through that, because some of these things are going to be applicable, just the financing aspects of the feasibility study that they did, that RKG did for Brookline. Good, okay. So I'm going to open it up to public comment, and we're going to allow 2 minutes per commenter. And let's see, Sarah, can you see anyone? I see one person has their hand raised. Carl Wagner?
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Thank you. I'm Carl Wagner. I live in Precinct 15. I'm a town meeting member. As I said when I wrote my note, which I posted for your prior meeting, the 14th of October meeting, it's still true that this group is repeating the mistakes of the private working group that the Attorney General found fault with, or at least the town process that was found fault with, which is you're proceeding from the perspective of housing quantity advocates, whereas this is the largest change that will have been made in Arlington's history, and stakeholders like services, financial impact stakeholders, school services, traffic, open space, trees, residents who already live in the districts or work in the districts that would be impacted. All of these people need to be involved at this stage, the planning stage, not the public awareness of what you're planning to propose stage. I think it's incredibly important that the public be involved. And with that, I would like to say I didn't know about this meeting. It didn't appear on the public calendar as far as I'm aware. Can you state that this meeting was made available 48 hours on the town's public calendar before the meeting happened? I don't think it did. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Wagner. Good to see you. Anyone else with their hand raised? If not, I want to thank everyone for attending, and I know you'll try to get some more of the scouting done, and I'll be in touch with David and Fiorella, and have a good night. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?